We've looked at multiplying and dividing decimals, so now we're going to move into multiplying and dividing of fractions. In order to multiply fractions and mixed numbers, though, what you have to know is that each number has to be written as a proper fraction or as an improper fraction. We did this a little while back where we would change mixed numbers to improper fractions. You absolutely cannot use a mixed number to multiply or divide. Mixed numbers must be converted into an improper fraction, and whole numbers must be written over 1 before you can multiply with them. So here's our steps for multiplying fractions. The first thing you do is you change each mixed number to an improper fraction. It has to be changed. Remember, we use that around the world to help us. Then we multiply our numerators. We multiply the denominators. And then we will have to simplify. Let's look at some examples. So we've got some different ways that we are going to be multiplying here. Let's look at this first example, which is 2/3 times 4/5. Well, these are just regular proper fractions, so all we have to do is multiply across. So we're going to multiply our numerators. 2 times 4 is 8, and then we multiply our denominators. 3 times 5 is 15. Then we have to look at this and we have to ask ourselves if that can be simplified. Well, if I think about the factors of 8, I have 2 and I have 4. 15 cannot be divided evenly by 2, and 15 cannot be divided evenly by 4. So this is in its simplest form. So now let's look at another one. Question number 2 is 6/7 times 2/7. Again, I'm going to multiply across. They're both proper fractions. So I'm just going to multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. 7 times 7 is 49. So that gives me 12 over 49. So now let's check out this next set. We still have proper fractions. Look at question number 3 here. We still have proper fractions. But what's different about these is if we look diagonally, if we look this direction, we have 2 3s. So we're going to do something that's called cross-canceling. And what cross-canceling does is it allows us to keep our numbers small. So that way they're very, very easy to work with. So when I look at these 2 3s, I know that 3 and 3 can both be divided by 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to divide it by 3, and that becomes a 1. I'm going to take this 3 and divide by 3, and that becomes a 1. Then I'm going to look the opposite direction. And again, I have the same situation. I can see here this 2 and this 4. Well, 2 and 4 can both be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 becomes 1, and 4 divided by 2 becomes 2. So I'm going to rewrite my problem. Now I have 1 over 1 times 1 over 2. And now I can multiply straight across. I can't get anything smaller than 1, so I can't cross-cancel anymore. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So we end up with 1/2, which is in simplest form. That's the neat thing about cross-canceling, is 98% of the time, when you cross-cancel, you don't have to simplify. And I know for some of us, simplifying is what's really tough. So let's look now at this next one. This is also going to be a problem that we can cross-cancel. So let's look this way. We have 3 and 15. What can 3 and 15 both be divided by? Well, they can both be divided by 3. So I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to divide by 3, and that'll give me 1. 15 divided by 3 is going to give me 5. So now let's look this way. I have 6 and I have 8. What can 6 and 8 both be divided by? Well, they're both even. We can divide by 2. So 6 divided by 2 becomes 3, and 8 divided by 2 becomes 4. So now I have 1 over 4 times 3 over 5. I'm using the numbers that I have cross-canceled to, that I have simplified by. And now let me multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 5 is 20. 3 over 20. 20 cannot be divided by 3, so this is definitely in simplest form. All right, so now we're going to look at some problems where we are going to have to use all of those different methods. First thing, though, I want you to notice is that these are mixed numbers. We have a whole number and a fraction that are put together. So what we are going to have to do here is we are first going to have to use around the world. So let's go ahead and let's practice that. We're going to multiply and then add. Denominator times whole number plus numerator. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So this becomes 5 over 2. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18. So this gives me 18 over 5. So now I have two fractions. They're improper fractions, which is fine. But I'm going to check for that cross-canceling just like I did before. So let's look diagonally here. I have 5 and 5. What can they both be divided by? They can both be divided by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So those are now much smaller and easier to work with. Let's look this way. We have 2 and 18. What can they both be divided by? They can both be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So now let's rewrite our problem. We have 1 over 1 times 9 over 1. Multiply across. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. 9 over 1 simplifies to 9. All right, so let's look at this last problem now. We have two mixed numbers. So again, I'm going to change them into improper fractions. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 plus 5 is 29. So that will be 29 over 6. That denominator stays the same. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So this will be 5 over 4. Now I'm going to look diagonally and see if I can cross cancel. Let's see, 5 and 6. Nope, they can't be divided by anything. 29 and 4. Nope, they can't be divided by anything. So that means I can't cross cancel. So I know I'm going to end up with some big ugly numbers here, but that's okay. We can manage this. So we are going to multiply straight across. 6 times 4 is 24. 29 times 5, I'm going to need to work out. 10, 145. So now I have 145 over 24. This is an improper fraction. So for my answer, I need to go ahead and turn it back into a mixed number. Remember, we do that by using division. So I'm going to take 145 and I'm going to divide it by 24. Let's see, that's going to go in 6 times. Let's do 24 times 6 and see what we get. 4 times 6 is 24. Let's see, 8, 12, 13, 12, 13, 14. Oh yeah, that gives me 144. So that means that this goes in 6 times. 6 times 24 is 144. Subtract and I have 1. So then 6 is my whole number. 1 is my numerator, and my denominator stays 24. So 6 and 1/24 is my answer.